Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Hannah and today I have a July wrap-up for you. These are all of the books that I read in July, and so I'm just going to tell you about them. So first of all, I have borrowed all of these books from the library this month because I said, hey, I want to start reading again. I don't know why, I just had the kick to start reading a whole bunch. So I checked out a whole bunch of books from the library, and that is what I read this month. The first two were these like mystery novels, and I mean, they both got 3 stars. They're kind of just like your average mystery novels. They were fun. Probably would never read them again, but they were fun to start off reading with. So this was the first one that I read, and it was To Bree or Not to Bree by Avery Ames. And I'm just going to read the synopsis just because these mystery books are so, like, generic. I'm just going to read the synopsis. It says, Charlotte Bisset, owner of Fromagerie Bisset, known by locals as the Cheese Shop, has a lot on her plate, setting a date with her fiancé, feeding the actors in her grandmother's production of Hamlet, and planning the menu for her best friend and cousin's upcoming wedding. At least her new creation, sinfully delicious Brie blueberry ice cream, has turned out perfectly. Just days before the wedding, a stranger turns up dead in the Igloo ice cream parlor freezer, his head bashed with a container of Charlotte's signature ice cream. But the stranger turns out to be more than he seems, and his death threatens to unravel all that Charlotte has worked for. She has no choice but to add one more thing to her to-do list: to find the killer before the villain destroys all that she loves. So yeah, I gave this book a 3-star, and it was just pretty middle of the road book, but I did enjoy the story. The second one I read was Truffled to Death, and I also gave this one a 3-star just because, again, it's kind of middle of the road. But here is the synopsis. Hoping to sweeten sales for their shop, Chocolates and Chapters, Michelle and Erica host a reception highlighting a new museum display of ancient Mayan pottery curated by Erica's former mentor, Professor Addison Moody. The evening has a few hiccups, but the ladies soon smooth things over with ample servings of wine and chocolate. Yet with the sweet comes the bitter. The very next day, the antiques from the reception are discovered missing. The professor accuses Erica of having sticky fingers, claiming she wants revenge on him, and she's only in more trouble after he's found stabbed to death with one of the artifacts. Now Michelle must help Erica track down the real killer before someone else finds themselves in less than mint condition. So again, I just gave this 5 stars, and not 5. 3 stars, but I did enjoy it. The next book I read was Summer Reading, and I believe I gave this a 2-star. It just felt very flat, and like you were just walking alongside these 3 characters, and they didn't really have any story, but like they all intertwined together, but there's just no like real good story to it, I guess. So basically there are 3 characters, Lissy, Michelle, and Angela, and they all are tied in together through a book club that Angela teaches at Lissy's house, and Michelle is Lissy's maid, and she just happens to hear things throughout the book club, and she's just tied into it somehow. But yeah, it just kind of fell a little flat, and there wasn't quite a story. They were kind of it just showed how they all reflected through the stories that they would read during the book club. So yeah, it wasn't the greatest. It was kind of blah, but I read the whole thing anyway, and I gave it a 2-star, and that's the last I'll be seeing of it. The next book I read was The Book Thief, and this was amazing. I don't know why I've never read it before. I'm like 24 years old and I've never read it before. But also, I've never been an avid reader. I literally just started reading this past month, and I'm like hooked. So, but anyway, this book got a 5-star from me, and I'm sure everybody knows what this is about. It's a young adult historical fiction around the Holocaust, and it's one that'll get you right in the heart. So I'm not really going to do a synopsis or a little brief about it because I'm sure plenty of people have done one. But yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful book, and I love it. I'm gonna have to buy it for myself. The next book I read was Red Clocks, and this is a 1-star from me. This, like, literally has no story to it. It's about 4 women, I think it's 4 women, who are living in this world where basically you can't have an abortion, you can't do in vitro, and it's just basically kind of, sort of, not even really a knockoff of The Handmaids, and it's just dumb. Like, it just felt like a rant that the author wanted to have about current times in our government, and I'm just like, chill. Like, I understand it's just a story, it's just whatever, but like, I really hated this book, and on Goodreads it's nominated for like best in sci-fi, or it was last year or something like that. I don't know, I'm just like, no, this book sucked. There was no story, like, just stupid. So kind of like this one, but this was way more ranty, and I just like couldn't handle it. So I did read all of it, but I gave it a 1-star. So the last book in July that I read is this one called Man Alive by Mary K. Zarovlev, and basically it follows this family. They were on a summer vacation, and the dad got shocked by lightning, and so they come home after all of the trauma and all of the hospital time, and they have to deal and figure out how to be a family again after trauma. And so pre-lightning strike, the dad was a pediatric psychiatrist, and post lightning strike, he actually was dealing with some of the behavioral issues that his patients would have. And so the wife has to learn how to be a wife to a husband who's only there sometimes, like there sometimes. The daughter has to deal with being home and just being really frustrated with mom, like kind of being like, not like purposefully ignoring her, but her mom is going through her own stuff, and then dad is like just off being crazy, and all he wants to do is cook. That's why there's a grill on here. Like, he just wants to grill things. And then the twin boys are off at college, and one of them goes off the deep end and just makes terrible mistakes, and then the other one is somewhat okay, still makes a couple of mistakes that he probably shouldn't be making. But yeah, and then they come together. The story ends around Thanksgiving, and it doesn't really tie up all of the ends, and you don't really know exactly what happens to everybody after the story is done, when the story ends, I guess. But it did get a 4-star from me, just because the learning how to be a family through trauma and after trauma was just really good. And there's a few lines in here that are just like, yeah, that is awesome. So yeah, I probably would never read it again, and that's why I gave it a 4 stars instead of a 5-star. Yeah, this was a pretty dang good book. So those are the books that I read in the month of July, my first month of avidly reading. They were all books from the library, and so none of them are really new or anything like any other booktubers are reading, but that's okay. I don't have a lot of books built up, so I needed to start at the library, and starting at the library is a good place to start. So I'm gonna keep on doing that through August and through the end of the year until I can build up my book collection, and then hopefully I will be having some like updated or recent novels to read. But yeah, that was my books for July, and I will see you in my August TBR.